Poor mechanic gives biker's disabled mother a miracle. Next day, 300 Hell's Angels changed his life. The rain in Silver Ridge didn't just wash the streets, it seemed to seep into the bones of anyone unlucky enough to be outside. For Ethan Cole, a mechanic whose hands were permanently stained with grease and whose pockets were perpetually empty, the rain was just another reminder of his failing luck. His garage, Cole's Auto Repair, was a crumbling skeleton of a building on the edge of town, filled more with spiders than customers. He was a man living on the precipice of losing everything, surviving on instant noodles and the faint hope that tomorrow would be different. It was on one of these gray, dripping afternoons that the rumble began. It wasn't the sound of a single engine, but a low, vibrating thunder that shook the tools hanging on Ethan's wall. Through the dusty window he saw them, a phalanx of motorcycles, chrome gleaming even under the overcast sky, leather vests adorned with the terrifying insignia of the Hell's Angels. At the front rode Victor Grave Kane, a man whose reputation was written in whispers and fear throughout the county. The bike stopped, the engines died, leaving a silence so heavy it felt like pressure. Victor dismounted, not with aggression, but with a desperate urgency. In the sidecar of his custom rig sat his mother, Gloria Kane. She was a fragile woman, her body twisted by years of paralysis, her face etched with chronic pain. "We heard you're the best," Victor said, his voice rough but lacking its usual menace. "My mother's chair. The doctors say it's top of the line, but it hurts her every time she moves. They say we have to wait 6 months for a replacement. She doesn't have 6 months." Ethan looked at the expensive, high-tech motorized wheelchair. It was a marvel of engineering, sleek and costly. But as Ethan knelt beside Gloria, seeing her wince as she shifted her weight, something clicked in his mechanic's soul. He ran his calloused fingers over the frame, testing the joints, listening to the hum of the motor. "This isn't just worn out," Ethan murmured, more to himself than to the biker gang. "It's fundamentally flawed. The weight distribution is off by 3 degrees. It's forcing her spine into a curve it can't handle. No wonder she's in agony." Victor's eyes narrowed, his hand instinctively drafting toward his belt. "Are you saying the hospital sold us junk?" "I'm saying good enough killed this design," Ethan replied, meeting the biker leader's gaze without flinching. "I can fix it, but I can't do it by the book. I have to rebuild the suspension and re-engineer the seat geometry from scratch." "Do it," Victor commanded, "but if you make it worse, there will be consequences." That night, Ethan didn't go home. He locked the garage doors and turned up the radio to drown out the storm. For 12 hours, he worked with a feverish intensity he hadn't felt in years. He stripped the chair down to its bare metal. He scavenged parts from old suspensions, welded custom brackets, and used foam he had molded by hand to fit Gloria's specific contours. He wasn't just fixing a machine. He was trying to give a mother her dignity back. He worked until his fingers bled and his eyes burned, driven by the image of Gloria's pain. When the sun finally broke through the clouds the next morning, Ethan collapsed onto a stool, asleep before his head hit the workbench. He was woken not by an alarm, but by the roar of engines, hundreds of them. Panic surged through Ethan as he stumbled to the door. Had he failed? Was this the retribution Victor had promised? He pushed open the bay door and froze. The street was packed. 300 bikers lined the road, stretching as far as the eye could see. But they weren't revving their engines in anger. They were standing still, helmets in hand. And in every bed of a pickup truck, strapped securely, was a broken wheelchair, a damaged walker, or a faulty mobility scooter. Victor Grave Kane walked forward, removing his sunglasses. Behind him, Gloria sat in her new chair. She wasn't slumped in pain anymore. Her spine was straight, her head held high, and for the first time in years, she was smiling. "Ethan," Victor said, his voice carrying over the silent crowd, "you fixed my mother. You saw what the experts missed because you cared enough to look closer." Victor gestured to the sea of bikers behind him. "We are the Hell's Angels.
People think we only know how to break things, but last night my mother told me she slept without pain for the first time in a decade. She told me you gave her her life back. Victor stepped closer, placing a massive tattooed hand on Ethan's shoulder. So we made a decision. You fix my mother, now we fix everyone. The crowd cheered, a roar of solidarity that vibrated in Ethan's chest. Over the next few hours, the narrative of Ethan's life was rewritten. The bikers didn't leave, they stayed. Men who looked like they could crush a car with their bare hands gently unloaded broken devices. Mechanics from the club set up makeshift workstations. Funds were pooled instantly. Cash, credit cards, donations poured in. Within a week, Cole's Auto Repair was gone. In its place rose Silver Ridge Mobility Works. It was no longer a struggling shack, but a bustling hub of innovation and compassion. The Hells Angels provided the muscle, the funding, and the security, while Ethan provided the genius and the heart. Together, they created a system where no device left the shop without rigorous real-world user testing. The ripple effect was immediate. News crews arrived, capturing the surreal sight of bikers carefully adjusting pediatric wheelchairs and laughing with elderly veterans. The story went viral, catching the attention of the regional VA hospital administration. Ashamed by the exposure of their own systemic flaws, the good enough mentality that Ethan had identified, they approached Silver Ridge with a proposal. They signed a partnership agreement that mandated user testing protocols for all mobility equipment in the state, using Ethan's designs as the gold standard. The bureaucracy that had once ignored Gloria's pain was now forced to listen, driven by the unlikely alliance of a poor mechanic and a motorcycle gang. Months later, Ethan stood in the new, expanded workshop. The air smelled of fresh welds and coffee, not despair. He watched as a young veteran tested a new prosthetic arm attachment, his face lighting up with possibility. Victor walked up beside him, handing him a cup of tea. "You know," Victor said softly, "I thought I was coming here to save my mom. Turns out, you saved all of us." Ethan looked around at the brotherhood he had accidentally built. He realized that his single act of compassion, born from a refusal to accept mediocrity, had done more than fix machines. It had exposed a crack in the system and filled it with gold. It had proven that kindness was the most powerful tool in any toolbox. "Good enough was never acceptable," Ethan whispered, echoing the words that started it all. "Not when people's lives are on the line." In a world often divided by appearance and prejudice, Silver Ridge Mobility Works stood as a beacon. It showed that a biker's leather vest could hide a heart of gold, and a poor mechanic's dirty hands could hold the power to change the world. It was a testament to the fact that when we choose empathy over judgment, miracles don't just happen, we build them together. If this story touched your heart and reminded you that kindness can come from the most unexpected places, please take a moment to like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Your support helps us spread these messages of hope and second chances to millions of people around the globe. Don't forget to tell us in the comments where you were watching from. We love seeing how far these stories travel. Together, let's keep proving that no one is ever beyond repair. Thanks for watching.